If you feel stuck, lost, or unsure of what you're meant to do with your life, then this video is for you. The reality is that your North Star, your life's purpose, has been with you the entire time, almost like a heartbeat that's operating always under the surface. It's just that you haven't discovered what that is yet. And so in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some practical steps on how to discover your North Star so that you can move forward in life with a sense of clarity and direction and purpose. And towards the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing with you a simple 3-step process that's going to help you discover what your North Star is. So to discover your North Star and live out your epic trajectory of your life's purpose, what you're going to want to do is to answer the question, what do I really want? And this question is something that on the surface may seem very simple, but it's actually quite a difficult question to answer. And the reason why is because we might have ideas of, oh, maybe I should want this thing. Or maybe it's the case that we have a sense of what our surface level will is, but we don't have a sense of what our deeper will is. So for example, I might think that I want a ton of money, but really that's just a means to another end. What is it that I want to actually use that money for? Or maybe it's the sense that I want freedom, but it's like, what do I actually want to use that freedom for? And so there are a lot of mindsets that can actually keep us from becoming aware of our true wants, what I call the truest, deepest will. But it's in knowing what your truest, deepest will is that your North Star will become clear to you. And so to describe the truest, deepest will in a metaphor, let's say that everybody has their own river of motivation, and that river flows in a particular direction. And when it's the case that you're aware of what your truest, deepest will is, and you bring your life and your goals into alignment with your truest, deepest will, you experience this effortless flow in that direction. But if it's the case that you're misaligned with your truest, deepest will, you're not doing what it is that you want to do, you're too wrapped up in ideas of, oh, I should be doing this, or maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe it's the case that I want this thing that's really just a means to another end. When that happens, you're going to run into a lot of friction because it's going to be like going upstream of that river. And when you're going upstream of the river of your truest, deepest will, and you're disconnected from your North Star, what's going to happen is that you're going to start to feel directionless and like this lack of clarity. And you might even start to think, well, what's the point of this? What game am I actually playing? And you'll feel like your life really doesn't fit you, and you'll be just living day to day without any kind of sense of trajectory towards something greater. So it'll be just like every day is monotonous and just trying to get to the end of the day. And ultimately that becomes really draining and really unfulfilling. And you might even start to question, it's like, if I'm working so hard to maintain this life and I don't even like how my life is going, well, what's the point? And one of the things that I've seen over the past 7 years working as a coach is that when my clients have been really disconnected from their truest, deepest will and they don't know what their North Star is, they can tend to just want to seek relief from whatever it is that they're doing. So if they're trying to be productive towards like creating a business that's really misaligned with them, or working at a job that's really misaligned with them, all they want to do is to seek relief from that. And so this leads to a lack of fulfillment when it comes to the achievements relative to their work, but it also leads to a kind of escapism. It's like, okay, I'm just carrying this big boulder on my shoulders to maintain something that I don't even like, and so all I can really want is to put the boulder down. And when that happens, life becomes like a conveyor belt of tasks that just have to be responded to in a series of fires to put out. And this relief seeking, or this sense of wanting to click off from the stresses, can oftentimes lead to addictive behaviors. So things like substance abuse can come up, or even like, let's say, more common addictions like scrolling on social media. So a person who's out of alignment with their truest, deepest will, all they want is for the stress to stop. And so if all of that sounds like you and it feels like you're really out of touch with your truest, deepest will and you don't know what your North Star is, what ends up happening is that you can only respond to the things coming your way in life. Like I said, life becomes a series of tasks, a series of fires to put out, but we lack that ability to initiate our own vision, to say, hey, I want this thing in particular, and I'm going to chart my course in the direction of that North Star. So in order to become an initiator that's moving on an epic trajectory towards your North Star, one of the first things you have to do is to really allow yourself to dream and to break from logistical thinking. So you really need to let your imagination wander so that you can find that initiatory spark in yourself. And most importantly, you want to prioritize positive motivation in the direction of what you want, as opposed to negative motivation, which is about going away from what is unwanted. So that means moving forward in the direction of the path of fulfillment, as opposed to moving away from fear. And the tendency to run away from fear, and movement away from fear is one of the main culprits that muddies the waters to knowing what your truest, deepest will is and to discovering what your North Star is. Now, if what I'm saying here is resonating with you and you want to be able to discover what it is that you really want in your heart of hearts and to discover your truest, deepest will, I highly recommend checking out my free webinar, 3 Shadow Work Secrets to Get Out of Your Own Way and Reach Your Full Potential Without Having to Fight Yourself. And in that webinar, I teach a process to help you get more in touch with your truest, deepest will. And that's true even if you've spent your whole entire life out of alignment and out of touch with your truest, deepest will. So even if you've spent your entire life saying, oh, what should I be doing? I don't know what I want. This process will help you. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and click the link down below in the description box. You can put in your email and you'll get instant access to the webinar. All right, so now back to what I was saying about becoming an initiator. So if you're somebody who struggles with initiation and being able to say, I want this, and here's the path that I'm taking to go get that, and instead you've just been mostly in a responsive relationship with life, then I'm going to share with you some difficulties that might come up when you're shifting from being a responder to life to an initiator of life, which of course is a necessary ingredient for being able to discover what your North Star is and to be living a life of purpose. All right, so one of the challenges when it comes to becoming an initiator that you might run into is if you're operating more off of shoulds than you are operating off of wants. And so an example that came up with one of my clients is that this client had a belief that in order for me to be successful in my business, I have to have this really strict routine and I have to be working 12 hours a day and I have to totally isolate myself from friends and family because friends and family will be a distraction. But this person's truest, deepest will had a lot to do with community and connection and family. And then also there was a value there around variety. So the spice of life for them was operating in a totally different direction than their sense of how they should be successful. And it was creating a dynamic where they really felt like they were over their business and really just didn't want to work on it anymore because it felt like it was running totally in opposition to what it is that they really want. And so oftentimes, if we have a belief of what we should be doing or have to be doing, this can really get us disconnected from our North Star and disconnected from the flow of the river of our truest, deepest will. Now, another obstacle to becoming an initiator and clicking into alignment with your North Star value is if you are operating more based off of negative motivation than you are positive motivation. So there are 2 types of motivation. So positive motivation is about going in the direction of what you want to experience. So if we think about it, it's like trying to go towards something because we believe that it will make us feel good. The negative motivation is about going toward or away from something in order to get away from feeling bad. So it might be the case that it seems like we're going in a forward direction, but we're actually going in that direction to avoid pain or to avoid fear. For example, let's say that I want to make $1 million. It seems like I'm going toward the $1 million. And so you might think that that's like a positive motivation, and it can be. So let's say I want to go towards the $1 million because I want to be able to travel and have all kinds of excitement and, have a lot of fun times, right? So in that case, there's a positive motivation towards the money as a means to another end. But let's say that I'm negatively motivated to pursue money. In that case, I'm like, oh, I want $1 million because it'll help me escape from stress. Every month I'm worrying about money, and if I just had $1 million, I could get away from stress and I could get away from duress. So in that case, I would be negatively motivated towards the money as a means to an end. And so in this case, negative motivation can really creep into all of our goals. Even if our goals are forward-moving goals, we could still be using those goals to get away from what's unwanted as opposed to going towards what's wanted. And the flow of our truest, deepest will always happens in the direction of what is wanted. So with this, I actually have a personal anecdote to share with you. And this was 10 years ago when I first started on my other YouTube channel, The Diamond Net. And when I first started, I just really wanted to be able to share my insights and things that I thought were very interesting. And basically being able to share that was just inherently meaningful to me. So I was moving in the direction of positive motivation because there was passion there was excitement. And then likewise, when I first started coaching about 3 years into having that channel, what I felt was also excitement, like, oh, I can help people get this transformation. But then a few years into my business, I started to run into some rocky financial times. And so what was operating off of positive motivation towards my truest, deepest will, towards my North Star, had then become about, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to pay the rent? How can I survive? And so I started operating in survival mode with my business, and I started to do a lot of misaligned things that actually really hurt my ability to grow in my business. And so so I would just describe it as a thrashing around. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll have to create short form content, or maybe I should do this, or maybe I have to do that. Maybe I have to do paid ads and da-da-da-da-da. And what I eventually had to realize is that I was chasing the rabbit of negative motivation, and I was starting to lose track of what was really positively motivating me to create my channel and to start coaching in the first place. And what I've always found, and this dynamic is no different, is that success comes from aligned action. So if I'm aligned with my truest, deepest will and my North Star value, things go better for me in my business and things feel a lot better. Whereas if I'm like just, oh my God, how do I survive? I'm just grasping at straws and I make worse decisions based off of that. But when I'm aligned, that's where success flows from. So I truly believe that success flows from aligned action. So it's very important as you're pursuing your goals that you keep them aligned to your truest, deepest will. And you don't start saying, oh no, what do I have to do? What should I do? Even if that feels really in the wrong direction for you. So if you want to become an initiator and bring your life and your goals into alignment with your North Star value, what you want to do is you want to throw away your shoulds and start operating more from positive motivation. And you can save negative motivation for deadlines and times where you're being chased by a lion, but don't make any major life decisions based off of negative motivation. And instead, you want to find the lion's share of your motivation based off of what you really want to move toward, what you feel positively about, what really feels aligned with you. Of course, one of the challenges when it comes to negative motivation is that we have built in what's called negativity bias. In fact, all animals have negativity bias. And what that means is that we're going to prioritize negative stimuli over positive stimuli. And it's a built-in safety feature that we have. So an example of negativity bias and the value of negativity bias in the wild is, let's say that I'm a fish and I look over here and I see some great kelp and like that's my ideal food source. I'm like, ooh, yum, kelp, that's gonna be awesome. But then right in that same area, I see a shark swimming nearby. What I'm gonna do is with my negativity bias, I'm going to prioritize the shark over the kelp. And it's like, okay, the shark is way worse than the kelp is good. And so I'm going to go and I'll find my kelp elsewhere. I'm gonna forget about that good kelp over there. So as humans, it can be so difficult for us to actually connect with what it is that we really want because we can imagine our sharks all around us. We carry our sharks with us. And so every time we make a decision, we could be making that decision around, oh, how do I get away from the shark? And the shark is fear, and the shark is pain, and the shark is all these other things that maybe we've experienced in the past that we're really trying not to experience again. And that's why fear muddies the waters to knowing what it is that you want so much, because our fear is like as loud as a heavy metal band, and then our wants, our sovereign desires, our truest deepest will is just the voice of some guy in the corner just whispering the things that we want. And so sometimes it can be challenging to actually connect with our North Star value and challenging to connect with our truest deepest will. But that is what's necessary to be an initiator and to really get into alignment with your North Star. Now, as I mentioned earlier on in the video, I'm about to share with you that simple 3-step process for discovering your North Star. But first, I wanted to mention that I do offer support on a one-on-one and a group basis for people who are looking to achieve major goals, but who are running into self-sabotage, friction, or maybe even a lack of clarity or difficulty getting a sense of what you really want your goals to be. And so if that describes you and you would like support from me, go ahead and click on the link down below in the description box where you can fill out an application. And if your application is accepted, I'll reach out to you and I will send you my Calendly so that we can have a one-to-one free discussion to see if we're a good fit to work together. Now, despite the obstacles to discovering your North Star that I mentioned in this video earlier, I wanted to reassure you that you absolutely can reconnect with what it is that you want. You can get past the shoulds, you can get past the fears, you can really be able to discover it with this simple 3-step process that I'm going to share with you. Now, one of the things that I would mention so that you understand this process very well is that motivation always comes from moving towards something that we believe will make us feel better or moving away from something we believe will make us feel worse. And so feelings are really the main motor of motivation. And so because the truest deepest will always operates in the direction of what it is that you want to feel, you can actually discover what your favorite feeling states and reverse engineer them so that you can do the things that are going to bring about those feeling states. And it gives you a really strong hint about what trajectory you really want to be on. So the first step is to make a list of your favorite feeling states. And again, they're your favorite feeling states because they're the presence of a good feeling and not the absence of a bad feeling. So if you really like the feeling of empowerment, you want to ask yourself, am I trying to go towards the feeling of empowerment, or am I actually just trying to get away from the feeling of disempowerment? And your favorite feeling states are a lot like your favorite foods, where you like your favorite foods because they're the presence of a good flavor and not the absence of a bad flavor. And so similarly, you want to treat your own favorite feeling states the same way. It's about the presence of a positive feeling and not the absence of a negative feeling. And then the second step is you want to reverse engineer your awareness of those feeling states so that you can incorporate things that produce those feeling states into your life. So for example, let's say that one of my favorite feeling states is wonder, and it is. And I think about all the things that bring about a sense of wonder, and what comes to mind is like stargazing or like engaging in really enigmatic mysteries. And so what I might want to do is I might want to actually create fixtures in my life, activities that I can engage with frequently, where I can be engaged with mystery, or I can even go out and I can stargaze, and I can set all of that up so that I can maximize those feelings of wonder. And you would want to do that with every positive feeling that you have on that list that's really about moving in the direction of what it is that you want. And even just doing this oftentimes will help you discover what kind of trajectory you really want to be on. But then going to the third step, and this step even takes it a step further because it breaks from logistical thinking altogether. I call this exercise awakening the dreamer. And so what you want to do is you want to get into a really childlike mindset where everything is possible. It's like, even like, let's say the laws of physics don't apply. You have a magic wand. You can look at your list of your favorite feeling states, and you can immediately wave your magic wand and live in a story or a world or a reality where you get to experience those feelings the very most. And so for example, if my favorite feeling state is wonder, instead of just stargazing, maybe I want to actually float around in space, and I want to be able to see the stars close up. Even though let's say in reality I get all burnt up from the star, maybe it's like stars are almost like this magical thing that I can actually touch and interact with. And so the reason why I want to take it into these fantastical sort of imaginative areas is because that's actually going to help me awaken the part of me that's that initiatory spark, the part of me that can just want without thinking about logistics. So it's about focusing on the end and not the means. And oftentimes the highest that people can dream are things that are means to an end, like, oh, I want a bunch of money. Well, it's like money is always about a means to an end. Unless you happen to be a coin collector, then it's the end in itself. But if you're saying, I want money, money is really just a currency to get you some other thing off in the future. And so with this last step in the process, really break from logistical thinking. That'll get you out of that conveyor belt kind of mindset where you're responding to everything. You go more into a childlike mindset of what do I really want, and allow yourself to dream, allow yourself to think in really unrealistic ways. Like if you want a pet unicorn, cool, you can have a pet unicorn. If you want to go live on Jupiter, you can go live on Jupiter. And particularly if you feel very resistant to that, or like, oh, that's silly, I shouldn't be doing that, then I would say that you especially need this exercise. Then of course, once you've extracted the wisdom from the logistics-free kind of dreamer vision, then you can kind of say like, oh, hey, like I took my dreamer vision in this direction and I noticed that this theme came up. How do I realistically and logistically incorporate that into my life? So you can bring that back down to earth afterward, but really let yourself be imaginative in this process. Now, as I had mentioned, one of the things that will hold you back from discovering your truest, deepest will, discovering your North Star value, and bringing your life into alignment with it is if you have a lot of shoulds and should nots. Oh, I should want this, I shouldn't want that. Or even I should do this or I shouldn't do that. And these shoulds and should nots often come from taken for granted beliefs, like I'm not good enough, or oh, this will never work. Or even a belief that leads to endless procrastination, like I need to know more information before I start, and I need to learn more things all the time. And so if you want to go deeper with what you learned in this video, and you want to really clear the blocks in the form of limiting beliefs that keep you from becoming conscious of your truest, deepest will, I highly recommend checking out this video right here.